Hey guys, welcome back to How to Learn JavaScript for Minecraft Bedrock. In today's video, guys, it is part 3 of the series, and we are going to be looking at event listeners and event handlers a little bit closer in today's video. Now, in my last video, I did brush over event handlers and event listeners briefly, and I showed you guys how you can detect when someone speaks in chat and all of that. But we're going to be looking at it a little bit closer today, and I'm going to be breaking down the event listeners and the event handlers bit by bit. So even to where it says like world dot, we're going to be explaining that. Then after events dot, we're going to be explaining that. Right down to the arrow function and the dot subscribe event, which I didn't really mention in my last video. So guys, what I want you to do, the first thing is go down in the description below and download the template from my GitHub. This will have a lot more notes than what mine has, as it's going to be basically explaining everything that I explained inside of this video, but with notes. So let's open up a Visual Studio Code and let's get this video started. Now guys, when you paste in my template, you guys can just read through this if you want. This fully works inside of the game. I will show you what script version we are running on for the Minecraft server. It is 1.12.0-beta, so if none of this is working, the game might have updated. So just simply take away beta, save it, and then you guys will be able to run the 1.12.0 version of this template, so you guys can mess around with it. But the first thing that I want you guys to take note as is the import up here. Now we're importing world because we're using world inside of this, which as you guys can see, world.after events, world.before events, world.after events, and world.before events. We're also using it down here as well. But we need to import world if we're going to be using it. So I'm not going to go too much into how imports work because I already explained that in my first video in part 1 of the series. So we're just going to briefly go over this. So again, we're importing world from the Minecraft server, so we can use the world class from the server module. Anyway, moving on. Now, this first thing here, this is our event listener. Now, event listeners are something we can do for when an event happens. We can subscribe to the event. Basically, we can grab all of the details of the event, and then we can have the world or the player or whatever's inside of that event to react to it using a callback function or an arrow function inside of JavaScript. So let's break that down for you just a little bit more. So we've got world here, which is a class from the Minecraft server. Then we've got the after events. Now after events is a remark from world. So it's saying world.after events. And then player join is a remark from after events. So it's saying world.after events.player join. And then it's saying .subscribe. Now this subscribes to the event. You can see what the at remark says there. It says it subscribes to the event. So it subscribes us to the event. And then it's going to grab everything from the event here, and then it's going to do an arrow function. This is what we call an arrow function in JavaScript. And then everything inside of this right here, inside of these curly brackets, it's going to run. So it's going to world.sendMessage, and then it's going to say player name. Now, if these was quotation marks, that won't work. But if we use curly quotes, which is what these guys are, or single quotes, we can actually then put a $, and then we can say player.name to actually print the player's name who joined, saying that they have joined the game. So that's what this is doing right here. Now we've got another example right here with world.before events this time. So now we've got world. And again, world is a class from the Minecraft server. So we're doing world.before events. Now, before events is something that's going to happen before the event fires. So before this even happens, this is going to fire inside of the arrow function. Again, we're subscribing to the event, so we know everything that's going to happen inside of this event. Then we're putting a arrow function, and we're running all of this before the event actually fires. Now this is useful if you want to cancel the event, and I'll be showing you that a little bit later on when we get to the chat event. So how we obviously do custom commands. When you put like an exclamation point or a dot in chat and then write something, obviously it doesn't actually type what you're saying inside of the chat. Let me show you guys what I mean real quick. So an example of before events, if we do this and press enter, it's not actually typing the exclamation point in chat, it's cancelling that event. Now if we was to use after events, we can't cancel it because the event has already happened. But if we use before events, we can cancel it so it doesn't happen. So that's what we can use before events for. You can use before events for anti-cheats as well, for when a player breaks a block or something like that. Like in here, we've got player break block, but all this is doing is printing out the block type ID that we actually end up breaking. So we're saying that when the player breaks block, subscribe to the event, then run a callback function, and construct the player as event.player, and then construct a block equals event.block. So what this is doing, it's grabbing the player and grabbing the block that was broken, and then it's sending a message to the player using the player.send message, and then it's saying you broke a, and then again we are using curly quotes here, so we can actually put a $, and then we can put inside of curly brackets, we can type block.type.id, and then saying block. So what this is doing is if we go inside of the world here and we actually break this snow block here, as you guys can see, it says you broke a Minecraft snow layer block. If we break that, it's going to say Minecraft grass block. So then if we break this, it says you broke a Minecraft stone block. Now the reason why it says grass block twice is because it's a grass block. And then it's saying inside of the print here, it's saying block. That's why it says block twice. So that's before events explained and after events explained. So we're just going to be using 2 more examples so you guys get the full understanding of this. So for these 2 last examples, we've got world again, which is a class from the Minecraft server up here. Then we've got after events, which means this is going to fire after the event has happened. It's saying .player leave, and then that obviously means when a player has left the world or the realm. And then it's got .subscribe, so we're subscribing to the event to get all of the details of it. And then we've got an arrow function. Now, inside of this one, if we was to do player dot and then just like what we put up here, name, we can't get that anymore because the player isn't actually in the game. So what we can do is we can actually put it as 1, which is event.playerName, and that will actually get the most recent player that left the game from the player leave event, and that will obviously allow us to then say that the player has left the game. So if we was to use player.name, the script is going to try and grab the player, but because the player isn't actually online anymore, it won't be able to grab the player. So it's going to it's going to give you a message saying undefined has left the game. But if we say player name, this is going to grab the most recent person that left the game, or the most recent person who was in the player leave event, to actually say that that person has left the game. Then we've got another world.before events here, and this is to do with a chat send, and this also links up to what I was saying earlier with the custom commands. So, as you guys can see, we've got here world, which again, we're accessing the world class from Minecraft server. Then we're getting the before events. So this is an event that happens, we're going to make this happen before the event is fired. And what event are we listening out for? That's going to be a chat send. And then obviously we're going to subscribe to the event, and then we're going to run an arrow function to run this if statement right here. So if we was to type in chat normally, so if we was to say hi, you guys can see it works perfectly fine. We can type whatever we want in chat and it's working perfectly fine. But we've got an if statement in here saying if and then event.message.starts with, and then it's an exclamation point, then it's going to run a function. Now this function is down here and it's called handle command, and that's going to run on the event. So that makes sure that it's going to run on the chat send before event, which we set up here. So make sure you put event there. And then we're going to put down here event.cancel equals true. Now what does that mean? That means that we're going to cancel the event completely. And that means that when someone obviously sends an exclamation point in chat and enters it, instead of it actually putting the exclamation point in chat like that, it's going to cancel the chat send, and instead it's going to run this function right here. So that's what event.cancel equals true means. And then obviously we've got some commands here. So we've got a function and we've got a handle command, and that's running on the event. And that event is obviously chat send before events, which is up here, as you guys can see, which we've set up in the world class. So when this actually happens, we are constructing a player called the event.sender, and the event.sender is going to be the person who sent the message. So instead of having to type down here sender.sendMessage, because we put a constant up here, we've now made it be as the player. So we can just put player.sendMessage. And for the command, we don't actually, use this, but right here, it says construct command equals event.message to lowercase, and then we're slicing the first thing of it, which is removing the exclamation point. So this is slicing the first character, which our first character is the exclamation point. Now we don't use this anywhere inside of the switch case, but we do use it right here, because this is going to say, okay, this is the command. So instead of having to put this right here every single time we want to run a command, we can just type in now help, because this is already doing it for us. So we can now put a switch down, and what a switch is, it'll say here, what it should, when you hover over it, a switch is basically saying, okay, if it's any one of these, run this. And a case is saying, okay, the case of the switch, so this is what the input is, or the response is, I should say. This is the response of the switch, so do this. And if we was to remove break here, that's going to run everything up until the next break, which is here. So make sure that every time you finish something inside of a case, put break. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it won't, because there's another case here. But if you want to split things up, it's good practice to put break down. But anyway, as you guys can see, if we was to type in help here, and the case is help, it's going to do player.sendMessage. Now, the player is the sender, because again, up here, we put construct player equals event.sender, and the event.sender is going to be from the event, chat send event, so the person who sent the chat send event, we ran the handle command function on them using the event, and then we got the event.sender who sent the message to then run this function to when they actually put help or they put exclamation point, it's going to say that it's going to run on them. So by player.sendMessage, we're actually sending this on the sender. So in reality, it's doing sender.sendMessage. But to make it easier, we have put the construct player here, so it does player.sendMessage. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. It's the best way I can explain it, but I hope that makes sense. But anyway, so if we put help, it should say available commands, and it should say help and time. So if we go here and then we type in help and click enter, as you guys can see, it says available commands and it just help and it says time. So now if we open up Visual Studio Code again, you can see that we've got another case, and this case is called time. So if we now do time in chat, it's going to construct time equals, and it's going to do world. And again, this is the class of the world. And something that we haven't spoke about is part of that class inside of world. You can actually type in get time of day. So you can get a lot of things from the world. We can actually type in world dot here, and if you've got the node modules, you can actually see everything that is inside of here. And as you guys can see, if we type in get and then we type T, you can see we can get the time of day, we can get the absolute time, we can get entities and all that sort of stuff. And that is exactly what we've done here. We've typed get time of day and then we've closed it off. You can always hover over it to see how to use this. And as you guys can see, it says method world.get time of day, and it's going to return a number of the time of day. That is what it's saying here. It's going to return the number. So then that says player.sendMessage, and then it says current time. And then as you guys can see, we can type literally just time right here, because we've already constructed time equals world.get time of day. So instead of actually typing down here world.get time of day, I mean, you can do it, but it's just more coding. It will work, but it's just more coding for you to do. We can just type in time here, and then it will say the ticks. So if we go into Minecraft here and type time, you guys can see that we get the current time, and that is 1,627 ticks. And it's going to continuously say that amount of ticks because the time of day is not moving. If we actually type time, we do set, we do midnight, for example, we can actually type the time now, and as you guys can see, it says we're on 18,000 ticks. So yeah, because the time of day wasn't moving, that's why I said it was going to continuously say that. If we actually do game rule here, and we do daylight cycle true, we can actually see that every time we type ticks, you guys can see it's counting up just like so. As you guys can see, that is that example now explained. And then we've got a default here. Now, default inside of a switch means if they don't type any of these, run this. So for example, if I was to type time, it's going to return ticks, but if I type time 2, it's not going to type it. Or if I type this, for example, it's not going to do anything. So it's like an else inside of a switch. So if you guys have done Python, you guys know that you can do an if statement and an else statement. And if else means if nothing happens or something else happens instead of the specific things that we've laid out, do this. That's what basically a default is inside of a switch. So it's saying player.sendMessage, and it's saying unknown command type help for a list of commands. So that is basically switch and a function inside of a event listener explained. So now we're going to move on to an event listener, but we're going to be looking at, we can do an event listener without an if statement, and we can do an event listener with an if statement. So if we say here, so welcome to the server, or you have just respawned, we can actually do a /reload to upload to update the world to the script. Excuse me. Update the world to the script, and then if we actually go into game mode S at S, and then we kill ourselves just like that. When we actually click respawn, you guys can see it says welcome to the server, or you have just respawned. Now that's not good, because we don't want people to get a welcome message every single time we join, we respawn. We don't want people to get that welcome message, but we do want them to get the welcome message every time that they join the game. So the way we do that is we put an if statement. Now we'll be looking at that afterwards, but in here, the way that we're actually doing this is we are doing world, which is the class from Minecraft server, and then we're doing .after events, so after the event has happened, because we don't want to do it before the event, because if we do it before the event happens, if they've just spawned in, they're not going to see the message because it's going to happen before the event. And then obviously we're doing player spawn, which is part of the after event. And then we're subscribing to the event. Again, we're getting all of the information from the event. Then we're doing an arrow function, and we are sending player.sendMessage. And the way we're getting player is we are constructing player equals event.player. So we don't have to type event.player. We can just type in player by using this right here. And then we do player.sendMessage, and we're sending them a message saying welcome to the server, or you have just respawned. Because a player spawn event is every single time that they respawn. Doesn't matter when they're respawned or whatever. Every time they spawn, it's going to say welcome to the server, or you've just respawned. But if we was to get rid of this now and actually put an if statement down, we can then say if event.initialSpawn, then we can say player.sendMessage, welcome to the server. So now if we actually leave the game and then rejoin the game, you guys will see inside of the chat, you will actually see that it says welcome to the server. Now we didn't see that when we was respawning, because now it's checking if it's the initial spawn of the player. Are they initially spawning into the world? Is it their first spawn into the world, or have they got killed and they've respawned? So it's checking if they have an initial spawn. So as soon as this loads, we will see that inside of the chat, it'll say welcome to the server. So here we are inside of the world, and if we open up chat, as you guys can see, it says welcome to the server. So now it's said that, we now have a welcome to the server every single time that the player joins. But you can also add a bunch of different things here as well. So if you want to give them a map, you can obviously do player dot, and then we can obviously use add levels, or add an effect to them, or we can do player.run command to give them a map. Now we're going to use run command async, and we can obviously do give at s map. So we can give them a map when they first join as well. Now if we wanted it to be outside of the initial spawn, we can also do else here, and that will say welcome back. Or if we just wanted it to say that you have respawned, say this is for a game, and you want it to say that you've respawned every time they respawn, but you don't want it to say that obviously when they first join the server, because that's going to confuse people. So now if we do reload, just like that, and then we kill ourselves, and then when we actually click respawn, you guys can see it says you have respawned, because we have put an if statement here, and then whatever else it is, so an else statement. Again, the else statement is like a default inside of the switch, inside of a switch. It's just like default. So else right here, and that's saying player.sendMessage, you have respawned. But if we actually save and quit now, and then rejoin the world, it's not going to say that you have just respawned. It's going to say welcome back to the it's going to say welcome to the server, as you guys can see right there. And it's also gave us a map, because that is what we told it to do at the start. And we've actually got a really nice map of the snow village over there. But yeah guys, that is a little more of a deep dive inside of events and event handlers and event listeners. So I hope this did help you guys out, and I know this video is 3 months in the making. I'm sorry that it's so late, guys. Life got in the way, but I don't really have an excuse. I am sorry about this, because I have seen people say that I can't wait for part 3. And yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. I really am. But here it is, guys. Here's part 3 of the how to learn JavaScript for Minecraft Bedrock. But it has been your boy Solus. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you never miss another upload of mine. And don't forget to like the video if it did help you out in understanding JavaScript just a little bit more for Minecraft Bedrock. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.